My name is Eleanor O'Gorman and I'm an Assistant Agricultural Officer in the Kildalton College, where the official recommended list trials are carried out. So in the winter oat trial here we have 8 varieties on trial this year. Of those varieties there's 6 varieties on the recommended list, currently 5 fully recommended and 1 provisionally recommended. So of those varieties, Barra is the oldest variety on the list. It's been on the winter list since 1986. It has a relative yield of 94. It has a great grain quality in terms of consistently high kpH. However, it is susceptible to straw breakdown and susceptible to lodging. And in terms of disease, it's very susceptible to mildew and susceptible to crown rust. There's 3% of the seed available going forward for Barra. The next variety I'm going to talk about is Husky. It had a relative yield of 106 on the recommended list. In terms of, it's been on the list since 2010. It has a good resistance to lodging and it has moderate susceptibility to straw breakdown. In terms of disease, it has moderate susceptibility to powdery mildew, but it is susceptible to crown rust. It has a good kpH of 57.2 on the list. The last one is WPB Isabel, which is provisionally recommended on the current list. There's 33% of the seed available going forward for WPB Isabel. It has a good relative yield of 102. It has very good straw characteristics in terms of resistance to lodging and straw breakdown, and it also has a good disease package in terms of moderate resistance to both crown rust and powdery mildew. In terms of grain quality, it has a very high kpH. This is the variety here that's in front of me in the field and it's looking quite well. There's only one true winter variety on the recommended list, and that's RGT Southwark. It's a taller variety and it's quite late ripening also. In terms of disease, it's susceptible to mildew in particular. It has quite a low growth habit, but it turns into a very tall variety. In the spring oat trial, we've 12 varieties on trial here this year. The trials for the winter and the spring oats are combined recommended list national list trials. The 12 varieties that are on trial, there is 5 varieties currently on the recommended list, and there's 1 candidate variety up for recommendation this year, which is WPB Nuage. The varieties that are on the recommended list, so Barra is on the list since 1985. They're all featured here also. The relative yield on Barra in the spring list is 93. Again, the same issues arise in terms of straw strength and in terms of disease, with a high kpH, a good straw or grain quality. The next one, Husky, which there's 53% of the seed available this year in the spring crop. The relative yield is 107. In terms of resistance to mildew, it has a 6 on the recommended list with the crown rust at a 4. So in terms of grain quality, there's good high grain quality for that particular variety. The last variety I'm going to talk about is WPB Isabel, which came onto the list in 2019 and it's fully recommended since the 2020 list. The relative yield is 113, so it has a very high relative yield. It has good straw strength characteristics with an 8 for resistance to lodging and an 8 for straw breakdown. In terms of disease, it has a 6 for both mildew and for crown rust, so it's showing a good disease package. And in terms of quality, it has a very high kpH relative to the likes of Barra, so in terms of grain quality. In terms of the yield data from the spring list and the winter list on that particular variety, the yield seems to be outshining in the spring with a relative yield of 113. As we approach harvest, we measure straw heights in the various varieties, and there's a good level of variation between some of the varieties. They might be between, in the winter oats, 120 centimetres to maybe 127 centimetres for the likes of RGT Southwark. This crop would have received 2 growth regulators, and obviously the straw height is closely correlated with the straw strength and resistance to lodging.